What if I told you that everything you think you know about pleasing a woman is completely, medically, scientifically wrong? What if the reason your relationship feels cold, distant, and disconnected has nothing to do with love, and everything to do with one simple biological truth that nobody ever taught you? What if I told you that the world's most respected urologists have been sitting on information that could transform your relationship overnight, but nobody is talking about it openly because society made this topic uncomfortable? What if the secret to a woman never leaving, always feeling deeply connected, always choosing you, has absolutely nothing to do with your appearance, your money, or your size, but everything to do with understanding how her body actually works on a neurological and hormonal level? What if one conversation, just this one video, could save your marriage, rebuild your relationship, and make you the man every woman genuinely wants? Stay with me, because what you are about to hear is not opinion. It is not guesswork. It is pure urology, pure science, pure truth, and it will shock you completely. What if the most powerful thing a man could ever do for the woman he loves requires no physical touch whatsoever? What if I told you that the single greatest mistake men make in intimate relationships is not what they do wrong in the bedroom, but what they fail to understand about the female body, the female brain, and the female nervous system entirely? Today, we are going to talk about something that urologists understand deeply, but that most men will never hear in their lifetime. And by the time this speech is finished, you will never see foreplay, intimacy, or your relationship the same way again. The human body is extraordinary. The female body is even more extraordinary. And the tragedy of most relationships is not a lack of love. The tragedy is a lack of understanding. Men spend their entire lives trying to figure out what women want, reading books, watching videos, asking friends, making guesses, and failing repeatedly, not because they are bad men, but because nobody ever sat them down and explained the biological, neurological, and hormonal reality of how a woman's body actually prepares itself for intimacy. Let us start with the most shocking truth in all of urology and sexual medicine. The brain is the most powerful sexual organ in the female body, not any physical part, the brain. When a woman does not feel emotionally safe, when she carries stress, when she feels unseen or unappreciated, her brain releases cortisol, which is the primary stress hormone. And cortisol is the single most effective arousal killer that exists in human biology. It does not matter what you do physically. It does not matter how experienced you are. If her cortisol is elevated, her body will not respond, cannot respond, and this is not a choice she is making. This is pure neuroscience. This is her nervous system protecting her. And until men understand this fundamental biological truth, they will keep failing the women they love, and they will never understand why. So what does this mean practically? It means that the most powerful foreplay a man can offer a woman begins the moment he wakes up in the morning. It begins in the kitchen when he makes her coffee without being asked. It begins in the afternoon when he sends a message that says, "I was thinking about you today." It begins in the evening when he puts down his phone and actually listens when she speaks. Every single one of these acts is communicating to her nervous system, to her brain, to her biological threat detection system, that she is safe, that she is valued, that she is seen. And when the brain receives those signals consistently, cortisol drops, oxytocin rises, and the body begins to open itself to the possibility of intimacy. This is not poetry. This is endocrinology. This is how the chemical system of the human body actually works. Now let us talk about oxytocin, because this is where things become truly fascinating. Oxytocin is called the bonding hormone, and in women, it is the primary chemical driver of sexual desire and emotional connection simultaneously. Men have often been told that for women, emotion and sexuality are separate things that should not mix. That is perhaps the most damaging lie ever told about female biology. In women, emotion and sexuality are neurologically the same pathway. They share the same chemical highway in the brain. When oxytocin is released, a woman feels both emotionally bonded and physically drawn to her partner at exactly the same time. And the most powerful triggers for oxytocin release are not physical. They are eye contact, genuine verbal appreciation, non-sexual touch like holding hands or a gentle hand on the back, and feeling genuinely heard during conversation. Every man who masters these behaviors is essentially administering the most powerful intimacy medicine that exists in human biology, and he is doing it hours before any physical encounter ever begins. Now, I want to address the anatomy because this is where the medical education system has failed men most catastrophically. Most men were never taught accurate female anatomy. They were given incomplete, culturally censored, medically insufficient information, and they have been operating with a map that was missing more than half the territory. Here is what urology and gynecology now understand clearly. The clitoral structure in the female body is not a small external feature. It is a complex internal network that extends several inches internally, wrapping around internal structures in ways that were only fully mapped by medical imaging in recent decades. The external portion that most people are aware of represents less than 30% of the entire structure. The remaining 70% is internal, and it responds to pressure, positioning, and sustained attention in ways that require patience, awareness, and genuine intention. Men who rush, men who focus exclusively on what is visible, men who treat intimacy as a destination rather than a journey, are missing 70% of the biological map. And this is not a criticism. This is a medical education gap that has damaged relationships for generations. The second anatomical reality that changes everything is the understanding of the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor is a network of muscles, nerves, and connective tissue that surrounds and supports the entire pelvic region in both men and women. In women, the pelvic floor is directly connected to sexual sensation, arousal response, and the experience of physical pleasure. When a woman is stressed, anxious, or emotionally unsafe, the pelvic floor tightens involuntarily. This is an automatic protective response from the nervous system. A tightened pelvic floor significantly reduces sensation and can make physical intimacy uncomfortable or even painful. This is why emotional safety is not just emotionally important, it is physically necessary. The act of making a woman feel genuinely safe, appreciated, and relaxed is literally causing her pelvic floor muscles to release tension and allow sensation to flow properly. Once again, this is not philosophy. This is muscular physiology. Let us talk about timing because men and women experience arousal on fundamentally different biological timelines, and this mismatch is responsible for more relationship problems than almost any other single factor. Research in sexual medicine has consistently shown that male arousal tends to be rapid and visual, capable of activating within seconds of a physical or visual trigger. Female arousal, by contrast, follows a much longer and more complex pathway. It typically requires sustained positive emotional signals over a period of hours, and in some cases, over the course of an entire day. This means that what happens at dinner, what happens during a walk, what happens in an ordinary conversation, what happens in the 10 small moments of a regular day, all of those moments are contributing to or subtracting from where she will be emotionally and physically by the end of the evening. Men who understand this begin investing in those moments consciously and consistently. Men who do not understand this wonder why their partner always seems unresponsive, when in reality, she has been waiting all day for signals that never came. There is also the profound reality of verbal communication during intimacy that most men deeply underestimate. The female auditory system is more extensively connected to the emotional processing centers of the brain than the male auditory system. This means that words, voice, tone, and verbal expression are processed by women with significantly more emotional weight and physical impact than most men realize. Saying the right thing, expressing genuine appreciation of her specifically, speaking about what you love about her as a person and not merely as a physical presence, these things create neurological responses in the female brain that have direct physical consequences. Conversely, silence, indifference, or generic responses communicate to her nervous system that she is not truly seen, which immediately activates the stress response, raises cortisol, and closes down arousal pathways. Words are biological instruments. Men who learn to use them with intention and authenticity are accessing one of the most powerful physiological tools available in any intimate relationship. Now, I want to speak to the men who feel frustrated, who feel like they have tried everything, who feel like no matter what they do, nothing seems to work the way they hoped. I want you to hear this clearly. Your frustration is not evidence of failure. It is evidence that you were never given the right information. You were handed an incomplete education and asked to solve a complex biological puzzle with half the pieces missing. That is not your fault. But now that you are hearing the truth, now that you understand that the science is real, that the biology is clear, that the pathway is known, now you have a choice. You can continue doing what you have always done and continue getting what you have always gotten. Or you can begin to see your partner as the extraordinary biological, neurological, emotional being that she actually is, and begin meeting her on those terms with patience, with intention, with genuine curiosity, and with the willingness to learn. Because here is the final truth that ties everything together. The greatest foreplay in the world is respect. Consistent, daily, genuine respect. It is the man who pays attention. It is the man who remembers what she said last Tuesday and asks about it this Thursday. It is the man who notices when she seems tired and responds with kindness instead of expectation. It is the man who understands that her body is not a puzzle to be solved on demand, but a living, responsive, beautifully complex system that opens itself fully only when it trusts completely. And that trust is built not in the bedroom, but in 1,000 ordinary moments that most men walk right past.